Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be making shepherd's pie, or more accurately cottage pie, because I'm going to be using ground beef. I did a little research when looking for a good recipe, and shepherd's pie is lamb. Anything else is technically cottage pie. Potato, potato. I'm going to call it shepherd's pie anyway. And I did hear this year that St. Patrick's Day is on a Friday, and my Catholic friends have said that they have been given permission to eat meat. But again, this recipe, you can make a vegetarian version of it. You can also, like all the recipes I like are customizable because, you know, I like what I like and you like what you like. So the recipe I looked up and to my memory, eating shepherd's pie out and about, carrots, peas, corn, and green beans. So the recipe I found didn't add green beans. I'm adding green beans. The recipe I found uses russet potatoes. I'm using red potatoes, and I've even seen it with sweet potato. So again, very customizable. I'm going to be swapping out some of the spices for spices that I have on hand and that I like. So yeah, let's get started. I did pre-cut and boil the potatoes. I also pre-cut the onion, and due to still learning how to use my new camera, I started cooking the onion, but my camera wasn't filming, so I had to redo the entire intro, which may be why it feels a little bit rushed. So again, let's get started frying the onions. And as I was saying, when I realized the camera wasn't filming, the recipe calls for a cup of onion. I usually don't ever measure that out. I just cut the whole onion. I like onion. If you don't like onion, then you don't use the onion. So you put a little onion in the pan. You're going to fry up the onion. And when that gets, you know, a little more translucent-y, you're going to put in the ground beef. And again, just to make it a little healthier, I went with 93% lean ground beef. The recipe I saw used 90, but I went with 93 just to make it a scoosh healthier. Alright, and as you can see, the onions, they are nice and getting translucent-y and browned, so I'm gonna add the ground beef. And then you're gonna cook that about 5 or 6 minutes until the meat starts to brown. And while the meat's cooking, I'm gonna start on the mashed potatoes. In the spirit of healthiness, I'm gonna use my non-fried Greek yogurt again, but the recipe calls for butter and I think half and half, so it makes it very rich in cheese. I'm also skipping the cheese in my particular recipe, but I am going to put the salt, pepper, and garlic powder in. And again, I left the skin on my red skin potatoes because I like that. Okay, they look sufficiently mashed. Let's check on the beef. Okay, so the next step, we're going to add a tablespoon of Worcestershire and 2 cloves of garlic. Okay, now we're going to cook that about a minute. I did not measure the Worcestershire sauce because, again, I really like Worcestershire sauce. Need a bigger pot. Okay, now we are going to add 2 tablespoons of flour and 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And then we're supposed to stir that until there's no tomato paste lumps again. Okay, and the flour really thickened it up, creating a roux of sorts. So the next part is we're going to add a cup of broth and the veggies and the spices, which I forgot to put in earlier. Now the recipe that I'm using as a blueprint used parsley, rosemary, and thyme. I am going to use sage, basil, and thyme. And I think I mentioned it, I'm using all frozen vegetables. Okay, now with all that in there, you're supposed to bring it up to a boil and then simmer for 5 minutes. Okay, and I think the point of the boil and simmer was to thicken it up, and then you put it in a pan. Supposed to spread it out evenly, and it already smells fantastic. And then you put the mashed potatoes on top. Try and spread these evenly on the top as well. Now mine are really thick. And that's probably because all I did was the Greek yogurt instead of milk or the half and half or cream. Uh-oh, my underneath is coming out. All right, that looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't smooth out to all the edges, but... And I've preheated the oven to 400, so now I'm going to put it in the 400-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. I will see you back here when it's done. It smells so good in here. It did bubble out around the edges, a little bit more over here, but it looks really good. So let me give it a minute to cool down. It really smells good and I'm really hungry. Now the recipe I followed put it in a smaller pan, but I knew since I was adding more vegetables and my ground beef was a little over a pound and I didn't feel like figuring it out, I put it in the larger pan, and there said it made 6 servings. So, alright, it smells good and it looks good. I am counting this as a success at the moment. So as soon as this cools down to taste, oh my goodness. I mean, you can see the steam coming off. You can tell. I mean, that is hot, but look at that. It's still steaming, but it smells good and I'm hungry, so let's see, I want to get kind of everything together here. Okay. That's good. I'm happy because, I mean, growing up, my parents have made shepherd's pie in the past. I have never made it before, so I think I always thought it was really hard to make. It's not that hard to make. Like with most of the things I make, I think I need a bigger pot, or I think I need a bigger pan, or cook it in a big pot because I throw it and spill it everywhere. And next time I also might put in a little bit more of the spices. I mean, it does have good flavor, but it's a little on the blander side. It's yummy, and I would definitely make it again. Perhaps maybe next time I would do maybe ground turkey and sweet potatoes just to mix it up and keep things different. But super, super yummy, way easier than I thought. So let me know in the comments below if you like shepherd's pie or cottage pie, if you have any favorite recipe that you have, any differences or tweaks you would do to it. And until next time.